Hello, my name is Paisley Heitman, and my symposium is on student athletes' mental health. My professor is Gina Warren, and my class is English 101. This is the introduction to mental health within student athletes. The first thing we're going to be focusing on is balancing the demands of sports and academics. Student athletes face unique mental health challenges. Balancing schedules can be quite stressful, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what sport you play. You wake up, you go to class, you go to practice, you have weights, you just have a very busy schedule, and it can become quite stressful to keep up on. Next, understanding these challenges is crucial because mental health is just as important as physical health for peak performance. Mental health has to do a lot with mind over matter. When you're playing your sport, it's hard to perform if your mental health isn't great, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have confidence in yourself, if you feel like others are doubting you. It's really important to have your mental health just as much as it is to have elite athletic ability. Number 3, despite its importance, mental health often remains sidelined due to the stigma and misunderstanding. That just means that there's a stigma around student athletes, or maybe even parents create this stigma for kids that play sports of toughing it out and making sure that you're playing the best that you can. There's just this stigma about you should be able to handle the hurt, you should be able to push through the hurt. So I feel like it's pushed to the sidelines a lot, and it's important to have coaches and parents and even teammates who understand that your mental health is just as important. Number 4, as peers, teammates, and supporters, we all play a part in the well-being of our student athletes. I kind of just touched on that. I feel like it's important to be there for somebody. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know what's going on at their home life. It's hard for everyone. It's not an easy task to complete in college athletics. I mean, you're very isolated, very lonely, and it's hard sometimes for people to be away from their families and you don't know what's going on at their home. You just need to be a good person and have their backs. Number 5, student athletes carry the dual identity of being both students and competitors, which can lead to a high stress environment. I mean, completing assignments on time, making it to practice on time, getting your finals done, getting all your homework done. You're on the road a lot. It's just a lot to handle. I mean, you have to be on top of all of your schoolwork all the time because you never know when a game could get rescheduled or a practice could get moved up. You have to be on top of everything at all times. Next, the most common mental health issues in student athletes, disordered eating patterns. I mean, it's easy to miss breakfast, it's easy to miss lunch, it's easy to miss dinner if you're busy and playing or doing your homework. You get back from weights at 7 in the morning and you don't really feel like eating, you're not in the mood for it. You go to practice, school in the afternoon. You don't have time to stop and get something to eat because you're bouncing from one class to another or from class to practice. It's just a lot to handle. Substance and alcohol abuse. I don't feel like this is as common here at FRC, but I definitely can see how people can turn to substance and alcohol abuse when they're feeling isolated and lonely, it's their only escape route, I guess you can say. Social anxiety. This is a big thing. I mean, not having enough time for your friends, you feel like your sport is your whole identity, you don't really get a social life. It just leads to some sorts of anxieties that you might be losing your friends or whatnot. Depression symptoms. Like I said, it's very lonely. There's not very many college athletes, believe it or not, out of the whole population in the world. So depression is a big deal among student athletes, and it's very lonely. Your schedule can be lonely and whatnot. Next is the impact of injuries. Injuries could make a student athlete feel many of emotions such as sadness, isolation, irritation, lack of motivation, and anger. Most athletes get quite frustrated when injured because they identify so much with their sport. Athletes might worry more about their spot being taken and or being able to heal in time. It takes a toll on your mental health heavily, and also frustrating when you feel as though you cannot get better. I just read this top part. I'm not really quite sure on how to touch on this. Personally speaking, our season this year, it was quite rough because we had a lot of girls getting injured, and it took a toll on us playing. It took a toll on these girls feeling sad, feeling like they can't catch a break. Our coaches felt like they couldn't catch a break. It was just one injury after another. I know a lot of the girls identify with this sport, or with softball in particular. And so it's hard when you work so hard towards something all season and then you end up getting hurt towards the end of it, or it's just really lonely and isolating when you get injured and you feel like you've worked your whole life in order to get to this spot that you're in. And even this year when we had like low numbers, like we had to work through it. We didn't have any other options. So it was just hard. It's hard for girls to put that pressure on themselves to get better so we can have a season. It's just a lot of work when you get injured to come back. I don't really have anything else to say about that. I mean, it says you spend so much time working on your craft of your sport just to get injured. When getting injured, so much of your time after that is recovering and pushing your body to the limits you don't necessarily know you have to, which can be painful. The most difficult of it all is knowing how healthy your body was before, and now it's in pain, and all you want is for it to go back to normal. I mean, I think that's the biggest part of it, like knowing that you were healthy and that you were thriving in your environment, and then just to get hurt, it's a tough situation to be in. Next is academic pressure. Trying to balance the demands of sports and academics can be overwhelming. The pressure to perform well in both areas can lead to stress, anxiety, and feelings of being overwhelmed. It's important for student athletes to have support systems in place to help manage their academic workload and prioritize self-care. I mean, this is the biggest, I feel, when I get the most stressed out. I am behind on schoolwork and I'm trying to catch up, and I just feel like I can't because of how busy our schedule is. I mean, I feel stress and anxiety come from getting behind on schoolwork because you're on the road all the time, every weekend, even during the school week sometimes. It can become quite stressful. Due dates, teachers not really understanding or being flexible with timelines on homework assignments can be hard for athletes as well, because sometimes you're at the field all day. I mean, you wake up, you go to weights, you go to class, then you go to practice, and then you have study hall, and it's just a lot. Like sometimes you just feel like you don't have enough to catch up on, and vice versa. Like sometimes you feel like you can't focus enough on school because of how much you're worrying about your sport. So a lot of anxiety and pressure can come from balancing both schoolwork and athletics. Next is performance expectations. Performance expectations can be a major source of stress for student athletes. The pressure to excel in their sport and meet the expectations of coaches, teammates, and fans can take a toll on their mental health. It can lead to self-doubt, anxiety, and fear of failure. It's important for student athletes to remember that their worth is not solely determined by their performance on the field or off the court. Encouraging a balanced perspective and providing support can help alleviate some of the pressure that they feel. Coaches, teammates, teachers, I mean, a lot of pressure can come from a lot of different places, and it's hard to, it's hard to live up to those standards in a way. Like, you really need to focus and basically push through in a way when a lot of teachers and whatnot are pushing you. Coaches push you in sports all the time. I mean, it's their job. They want to see you be the best that you can. But when you feel like you're not meeting their expectations, it takes a toll on you. Body image and eating disorder. I just feel like you compare yourself a lot to other athletes and teammates and girls that you play against, guys that you play against. I feel like it's hard to just be secure with yourself because you're always looking to get better and play better. Conclusion. Wrapping up, student athletes often face unique mental health challenges, balancing sports and academics, dealing with performance pressure, and maintaining a healthy body image among external expectations can be tough. It's key to have strong support systems, access to mental health resources, and an environment that prioritizes their well-being. Open conversations about these issues are also super important to help reduce stigma and encourage athletes to seek help when needed. Ask for help. I mean, honestly, no one's really going to know what you're going through until you talk, until you reach out, until you ask for help. It's going to be hard and it's very awkward and uncomfortable for you, but managing your mental health and prioritizing yourself and schoolwork and all of this can be very difficult, but you have people at the end of the day that will help you and that care about you. Thanks for listening.